Today was a bad day for this nation. Today, the state, in its wisdom, decided to let down a hero. Karnataka's chief minister turned a deaf ear to the huge clamor for a CBI probe. Those pictures to the left of your screens are live pictures. They come out from the town hall in the city of Bangalore. There is a raging clamor for a free and fair investigation into Honest Ravi's death. But the chief minister isn't budging. He isn't accepting the need for a CBI probe. In doing so, he's revived interest in one basic and baffling question. What's making the Karnataka chief minister Siddaramaiah risk huge public backlash of the kind we are seeing? The ill will of an honest officer's supporters, not to mention the disappointment of Honest Ravi's family. NewsX has been asking this question persistently. Only the most rash and arrogant politicians would dare to upset such a powerful constituency. Mr. Siddaramaiah certainly isn't rash. He's come up the hard way to risk everything in one throw of the dice. Only a very compromised politician would take such a risk. But to characterize Mr. Siddaramaiah as compromised in the absence of hard evidence and merely on the basis of innuendo would be being very irresponsible. But given the rumors swirling around, it is not possible to dismiss this scenario out of hand completely. Consider one basic fact. Home Minister George's family concern, Kela Chandra Group, has a tie-up with real estate developer Embassy Group, which was being probed by Honest Ravi. Now think about it. Would you ever term a probe conducted by the CBCID, which reports to the Home Minister, as a fair one? Even if all the officers conducting that probe were to do their job, the conflict of interest that would be apparent enough would cloud any state government-led investigation under these circumstances. For this reason alone, the government should call in the CBI. In fact, the chief minister and his cabinet would be doing themselves a considerable service by accepting the demand for a CBI probe. A clean sheet from the CBI would be considered above question, and any lingering doubts about the involvement of any Karnataka politician would be washed away. Why wouldn't the chief minister jump to seize this opportunity? Well, that's the most baffling part about this entire saga. And we'll be asking this most obvious but also the most complex question right after this report. Yeah.
Parliament was rocked, streets were burning, and the assembly stalled. The untimely death of an uprighteous IAS officer has united India. These are spontaneous protests erupting across Karnataka, demanding a CBI probe into the death of DK Ravi. Effigies were burned and slogans raised, but they were stamped out with an iron fist by an adamant state machinery.
We wanted to address this to CBI inquiry. We have no confidence in COD inquiry here.
The parents are crying for it. They're demanding for it. Now he needs to agree for that. To prove their innocence, the only way is CBI.
If a Ravi can be killed, a common man like me, what is the security for me?
Opposition BJP and JDS, having stalled the assembly, took their protest to the governor. Their memorandum demands a CBI probe.
We are demanding that the entire investigation, entire episode of DK Ravi's death under mysterious circumstances should be handed over to CBI.
The agitation was brought to the national capital as well. Under Yediyurappa's leadership, BJP cornered the Siddaramaiah government.
जो ही स्टेट गवर्नमेंट की रिकमेंडेशन सीबीआई जांच के लिए प्राप्त होगी तो मैं समझता हूं कि केंद्र सरकार सीबीआई जांच कराने को पूरी तरह से तैयार है.
Why Siddaramaiah is not taking decision? Why is keeping quiet? when the people of Karnataka have wholeheartedly supported that CBI inquiry should be done, then why is delaying? That is for the state government to take a position, but as far as we are concerned, the moment we receive a request from the state government, we will take a call.
Even the IAS Association with an online petition is mobilizing public opinion.
Who are we trying to protect? Whom we are trying to defend? So we should not be defensive. That's the stand taken by me in the association. Many of my colleagues have also taken the stand. Now the parents of late Ravi themselves have demanded CBI inquiry. His father-in-law demands CBI inquiry. Lakhs of people are demanding that. So naturally, IAS Association also should take a stand.
But the adamant Siddaramaiah government simply won't give in, either to pleas or threats.
Whatever decision we have taken in the floor of the House, that is the decision that we are stick on to.
Ravi may be gone, but let's listen to the Crusaders' last few words. Words of honesty, propriety, and a dream of a corruption-free world.
Mantri, DS Max, Embassy, RMZ, ಈ ನಾಲ್ಕು ಕಂಪನಿ ಮೇಲೆ ಈಗ ಮಂತ್ರಿನಲ್ಲಿ ನಮಗೆ ಈಗ ರೆಕಾರ್ಡ್ಸ್ ಪ್ರಕಾರ 1 ಕೋಟಿ ಅಧಿಕವಾಗಿ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಎವೇಷನ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಕಂಡು ಬಂದಿದೆ.
It will be very difficult for Chief Minister Siddaramaiah to avoid a CBI probe, avoid a demand for CBI probe. For now, he might have some respite from the session that has been adjourned to Monday, but he will have no respite from the civil society which has took to the streets. With camera person Satish, Harish Upadhyaya, NewsX, Bengaluru.
Well, we've been putting out the big questions on the bottom of our screen. Those are the principal questions, the most salient one that need to be answered. And we'll put them out tonight once again for debate. Joining us, Vimlendu Jha, social activist, Jaiveer Shergill, the national spokesperson of the Congress party, Arun Bhatia, a crusader in his own rights against corruption, and a former IAS officer, Karuna Nandi, senior lawyer of the Supreme Court. Let me begin with you first, Mr. Shergill. I hope you can hear me. Why is there such a clamor for a CBI probe, Mr. Shergill?
Yeah, I can hear you.
In the Congress-ruled state of Karnataka, why is such a big clamor for a CBI probe in your state?
Rahul, as a lawyer, if I must say that unfortunately in the recent past, due to politicization of tragic events like this and a parallel media trial, legal principles are being overshadowed, by these politicization and the principles which should guide an investigation. And anticipating all of this, Supreme Court has very categorically said, if there is no element, a concrete proof, I say a concrete proof, not to be swayed away by emotions, political influences, to show that CID or a state authority will not conduct investigation in a proper manner, please submit that evidence on paper and it will be referred to CBI. Let's not forget, in the country of this law, whether we like it or we don't like it, CBI investigation is an exception and not a norm. And I urge anybody on this panel, in media or citizens, if they have proof CID is not competent, any evidence, we will be the first one to refer it to the CBI. But let's not, we know, not disbelieving everything. Today it's the CID, tomorrow you won't believe the police, tomorrow you won't believe the army.
Okay, two people are raising their hands.
So where do we stop?
Okay,
so wait on for the state report.
Okay, so wait for the state report. Don't get swept up by emotion. Don't get swayed by the misinformation campaign that is being run by X and Y, especially the media, says Mr. Shergill. Now, Mr. Shergill, are you saying, before I take the two counter responses, are you saying that the parents, relatives are swayed by emotions and media excitability, sir? Are you saying that the parents? What are you saying?
No, Rahul. Okay, let me respond. I said this is a matter which unfortunately will be decided by the rule of the law and not by loss of a life is very tragic, and I understand that. But court will look at the evidence, investigation alone and alone. So that is why I said if somebody has the evidence that the state will not in a fair manner, please submit that to the government, if not the government, to the court of law, so that it's the bias.
No, you're not answering
and then
my question.
CBI
you're dancing around my question.
Let's not,
Let me go to the others.
I am saying.
One second.
I am not dancing around. I am saying I respect their emotions. I respect their emotions. But
what you're suggesting is, I don't want to continually cut you off, Mr. Shergill.
And not pressure.
But it's a preposterous defense. What you're suggesting is that all those lakhs of people who are out there protesting on the streets, the family, the wife, the father-in-law, the relatives, cadre officers, IS officers, who are all standing in sympathy and in solidarity with Mr. Ravi, are excitably swayed by misinformation, that they are so gullible that they're going to accept anything at face value.
Rahul, with due respect to you, Rahul, with due respect, now you are, with due respect, all I said, it is an investigation which has to be led by evidence. So the state police is biased, we welcome it, but CBI inquiry is an exception, not a... Tomorrow it is found the inquiry is not transparent and fair, the Karnataka government will be the first one to
No, we'll look at it. We'll look at it deeper.
What I said. We respect the emotions,
you made an important point.
It has to be led by facts and...
I am not brushing away your point. I'm not brushing away your point. I'm merely trying to probe the direction with which you are reducing it. But that's okay. Let's see what the others make of it. Arun Bhatia wants to come in. Arun Bhatia, yes.
Yes, sir, we've been here. This panelist has said that he wants proof. Proof that pressure was exerted. Proof that politicians are involved. This proof will come out in the investigation. Where is anybody going to get proof now? You have to measure proof against circumstances. It's the circumstances surrounding the murder. The fact that he opposed those very interests which every government and every politician uses for their support. Contractors, mafia, sand mafia, coal mafia, building mafia, etc., etc., etc. This guy was going against them. So those circumstances warrant transfer to CBI. And he is asking for proof. It will come out in the investigation. That's what everybody wants. Proof that there was pressure. Proof that the government has murdered this guy.
Mr. Bhatia, I said proof of biasness. Please listen to me. I said proof of biasness on the part of the police.
Yes.
They will not conduct a fair and a transparent investigation.
How do you prove this?
There is proof. Will be investigated.
Yeah, but you want proof?
Nobody is giving a clean check.
What do you mean by wanting proof?
Yeah.
Mr. Shergill,
you are saying give proof.
I think when you say...
What proof do you want? You want proof that he was pressured?
Please read the
You want proof that politicians were injured?
Categorical.
Yeah, I've got the law of the land.
Proof of biasness.
The Supreme Court.
Yeah, the Supreme Court.
No.
You like it or you don't like it, but I'm sorry, you will have to abide.
Inquiry being biased is one thing. I am talking of circumstances. I'm sorry, no, you're wrong. The Supreme Court is authorized to view the circumstances of the incident, the circumstances surrounding the murder. How do you get proof of pressure? Tell me, sir, how do you get proof of pressure? How do you get proof of pressure?
I am not wanting a proof of that.
That's the stand you take, which is so very convenient.
No, one second.
Rule of law in the state of Karnataka.
Okay, gentlemen, 1 second.
No case will be transferred to CBI.
Okay, 1 second.
Give me proof of pressure.
Well, what he's saying
Give me proof of corruption. Give me proof of pressure.
And bias.
It's the circumstances that speak.
It devolves upon everyone else to adduce the proof. Now, 1 second. 1 second. I want to bring in
maybe you did not understand me very well.
Okay,
no. You are asking. You are taking a false stand.
Jaiveer, Shergill.
You are taking a false stand.
Let's not reduce this into a tutu-meme. 1 second. Let's just go around the table.
Understand my stand before telling me whether I'm taking a false stand or a wrong stand or a right stand.
Okay, Mr. Shergill, what Mr. Shergill is saying, Mr. Jha, and I want to come out to you. What he's saying to you is that he wants proof of bias that all of us are alleging, according to him, in suggesting that there is a grievous wrong being committed because the Siddaramaiah government is not handing over this probe to the CBI. That's the question he's asking you, and you need to answer that, Mr. Vimlendu Jha.
Yes. I think when he says that the case needs to be exceptional, there is every reason for us to believe that this case is an exceptional case. When he has the courage to ask us for a proof or evidence that there might be a bias, if the Home Minister on day one went on record and said this is a case of suicide, when the police commissioner went and said it looks like it's a case of suicide, what proof did they actually have? Should we not believe that they actually wanted to dismiss this as yet another personal affair? After that, for another 2 days, we actually, for almost 48 hours, we heard everyone from the government actually talking about all kinds of reasons, and not that perhaps there's a mafia state nexus because of which perhaps he was murdered. So I think, you know, when we talk about rule of law applies to everything. He needs to give us an answer. Why did the Home Minister think on day one, or the police commissioner think it was a case of suicide?
Absolutely.
Does he have a proof?
That would suggest a bias. Presumption suggests that there was something
Rahul,
wrong.
I think more importantly,
yes,
there are also questions, for instance. I think more importantly in this matter,
whoever heard his statement,
one second, let Karuna Nandi
speak.
Mr. Shergill, 1 second.
At the moment.
1 second, let Karuna Nandi speak. Yes, Ms. Nandi.
Rule of law is what is in question at the moment. The problem is that because of this intense corporate politician nexus, you have somebody, possibly, you have somebody who is an IAS officer, and an incredibly upright IAS officer, who has lost a life. Now, if we look at the transfer of Shri Pratap Reddy, IPS, and I have the notification in front of me, it's dated 18th of March 2015. He was the IG of Police, Internal Security Division of Bengaluru. He was transferred with immediate effect to a Lokayukta post, which was a newly created post. You know, perhaps is he an honest officer too? Highly likely. Now, when you also see the fact that, you know, there are certain scurrilous allegations that are being made against the conduct of DK Ravi, and there's absolutely no evidence that has been placed on record. Even the fact that, yes, as somebody was saying earlier, the fact that prima facie the police said it appears to be suicide. Now, perhaps they're not to be blamed for that, because, you know, it appeared to be suicide. But then, how did they say that it was due to personal reasons? How could they divine that?
Well, let me tell you, sir.
That motive.
Let me tell you.
Right from the beginning.
A prominent journalist writes the following, and I want to quote: "Journalists who usually cover the assembly beat were slyly told that there were some personal reasons." Now, this journalist has been very upfront, and I don't want to quote them because I don't want to at any level influence the investigation by bringing this out into the public domain. I could quote exactly what she has said, this journalist. And it is scurrilous. Karuna Nandi, as you have described it, the word is apt, scurrilous.
And this also happened in the Mahantesh case. If you look at the Satyendra Dubey case, the gentleman went and complained to the Prime Minister himself, Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee. And why was that information then sent to the ministry? Why was his identity not protected? Even if you look at the
murky personal life,
that is not
details,
something that
all sorts of things. Innuendo was thrown at this particular officer in the ether to cloud the perception of individuals. So, Mr. Shergill, now I want to ask you.
The classic strategy.
I want to ask you, sir. Forget character assassination for a few seconds. Let's look at the more basic points. You say that you have nothing to hide. What better way of proving this, Mr. Shergill, than by getting the CBI that, at least on the face of it, would seem to be an independent agency functioning in your state? What better clean chit than to get one from an organization that the Congress says at this moment is working at the behest of the center? I'm just asking you, if everything is so clean and transparent. Mr. Shergill.
Rahul, I think the first day, yes, Rahul, I'm answering. The first day the Chief Minister made it clear, he has said not a complete no to a CBI inquiry at this juncture. He said, let the state conduct an investigation. If there is a need, we will refer to CBI.
Answer my question.
When the BJP delegation met Mr.
Direct question.
From Karnataka, even he said,
I
am answering you. There is no question of a clean chit. Today, direct question. Today there is a tragedy.
It would be the ultimate vindication.
If this happened in Maharashtra,
there is no question of vindication. Today the question is, let me answer. Either he can answer or I can answer.
No, please answer.
Yes, today the question is, why are we warranting a mistrust on the state police? Why are we thinking they're incompetent to decide? It is not a question where the government has a clean sheet. The real issue is we have to find the reason of this tragic death. There should be a fair investigation, and we stand for a fair investigation. Tomorrow, yes, even an iota of evidence that it is not a fair investigation, we'll be the first one to refer it to CBI.
Why was he transferred?
But why are we prejudging? Why are we prejudging?
Have an independent officer there. Why can he not be transferred back?
I think you need to have a factual correction. Factual correction.
Maybe we should ask the question the other way around.
Can I come in?
Factual correction. I stand corrected. That transfer was stayed.
The panel. 1 second.
Rahul, that transfer was stayed. Let's get our facts right.
Mr. Shergill, let me ask the question
Rahul,
another way.
let's get our facts right. That transfer was stayed.
I have it before.
No, 1 second. Let's ask the question another way. We'll get to the facts. There's a lot to be.
It is. I am saying there was a transfer, but that has been put on hold now.
I know. Why? Why is an afterthought? Nonetheless. One second. Let me ask.
Is he still in charge of the investigation?
He is
now going to? I just want to clarify this, Rahul. Is he going to be in charge of the investigation, Mr. Pratap Reddy?
Mr. Shergill, respond to that.
If the transfer has been put on hold, Mr. Shergill.
Rahul, I don't have the information whether he will be in charge of the investigation or any other IO. I can cross-check and revert to you on that.
Well, that's not a...
Or any other IO.
That's not the answer we were hoping for. Nonetheless, we understand your predicament. But let me ask you this question in reverse before I bring in the others once again. Why would, or what's making the Karnataka Chief Minister Siddaramaiah risk huge public backlash, the ill will of honest officers, supporters, not to mention the disappointment of Honest Ravi's family? Why would you be risking this? It's supreme political capital lost. Why?
Because, Rahul, he is risking, the reason is this, and it is very clear. The message is very clear. Let's not, let's all resist the temptation to mistrust the state authority when any tragic event like this happens. There is a manner and methodology to your investigation. Where there is a rule of law, he is upholding that, and if tomorrow, for anything CBI, I'll give you a small example. So, Janya's death happened, unfortunate death last year in District Kannada. Refer to CBI, 1 year, nothing has happened. So, it is, if the CBI was, people used to call CBI a cage parrot. But we have to, put a line to our mistrust. Why are we
so it's on a point of principle, right?
It's a principle and a rule of law.
It's a rule of law and a point of principle. So what about the principle? 1 second. What about the principle of conflict of interest? 1 second. Let me ask you. What about the principle? 1 second, sir. Okay, what about the principle of conflict of interest? Now, Nalin Kohli, I want to come out to you.
Can I come in?
1 second, Captain Gopinath. I want to go out to Nalin Kohli of the Bharatiya Janata Party. Nalin Kohli of the Bharatiya Janata Party. Well, we have it on record now because we played out 2 interviews, not 1, 2 interviews of Mr. D.K. Ravi. Now, Mr. D.K. Ravi has mentioned in these interviews that the Home Minister, George's family concerned, the Kela Chandra Group, has a tie-up with real estate developer Embassy Group, which was being probed by Honest Ravi. Now, I want to ask you, sir, if the CBCID, and please illuminate me if I'm wrong, if the CBCID that reports to the Home Minister is going to be investigating what Mr. Ravi was up to, and one of the investigations of Mr. Ravi was into the business interests of the Home Minister, can there be any probity? Or at least, can this investigation be above suspicion?
Mr. Shivshankar, I'd like to make a few points. Your question is correct. Now let's go first from the top principle. Law and order is a state subject, and yes, the state departments are entitled to do the investigation in their own areas. Now let's come to the specific case. That's a general principle, but the general principle sometimes cannot work when you look at the specificities of a case involved. Now in this particular case, as you just pointed out, the officer who's been killed or who has died in mysterious circumstances was probing or was looking at the business interests of the Home Minister with a well-known real estate company. Now the second part to it is why the question of a CBI probe comes. even before the investigation was to commence, the Home Minister is on his own accord giving out a theory. The police chief preceding that has already arrived at a conclusion. When conclusions are drawn before the investigation actually begins, and then you see, not such a coincidental thing, the transfer of the officer, the IO, who's going to look at it. Thereafter, under public pressure, it's put on hold. So it raises questions. And on top of it, you say, when, and this is the question that really the Karnataka government is unable to answer, and I think they prove that they have a reason not to give it to an independent agency, because something that they want to hide may come out. They are willing to lose, in your words, great political capital by not giving it to an independent agency, or the CBI in this case. So the question that will logically arise, why are they willing to lose such great political capital? Obviously, because the loss that would take place from an investigation that's impartial possibly is even more greater. So this case is not correct. My final comment is, if it is to be seen as a case of suicide, then we also need to bear in mind he could be driven to that, and the circumstances of his entire family, people who are close to him, who know him, all of them feel that this is not a step that he would take. Everything is being ignored.
Let me get in
and the state government is resolute that we wouldn't
there
like
are
to see
many
an
points on
independent
which I agree. But unfortunately, on one point, Mr. Kohli is wrong, is that the CBI has been, essentially, Chief Justice of India, Justice Lodha, said in open court that the CBI is a caged parrot. The CBI is not an independent agency. However, why is it important that the CBI in this case take the investigation? Because unfortunately, there is a trust deficit in the CID as well as in the CBI, and this would be a political game. At the same time, because the CBI in this case, who reports to the central government, does not have an incentive, only has an incentive to unearth the truth, and a transparent process must be gone through. And yes, obviously the investigation has to happen.
I'd like to respond to that briefly now.
Confidentially, but then after that, it must go to court, and then a court, a special investigative team perhaps, and a court monitored, and that is the process that must be gone through. But let us not be under any illusion that the CBI is an independent investigation agency either. The current circumstances are these, that we must rely on the adversarial.
3 people have raised their hand. Okay,
Karuna
Nandi, 1 second. Let's get Mr. Nalin
I'd like
Kohli
to respond to that, Mr. Rahul.
Okay, Mr. Kohli wants to
1
respond.
minute. Just a quick counter.
Yeah,
just a quick counter. Well, the first is just to enlighten,
I want to respond to Rahul.
Sure.
Ms. Nandi has raised about a correct comment of the former Chief Justice of India in an open court. She only forgot to just mention the post note, which was this comment preceded the change of government. There's been a change of government. That's no coincidence.
That's absolutely
the second
correct,
part is
Mr.
about
Kohli.
what
this
she
was
said.
in 2013.
Now,
However, let us
like
not be under any illusion that the corporate collusion with politicians of big companies only happens by the Congress.
May I just finish my point?
There's one
one at a time.
I hope I'm accorded the same respect of being able to finish my point without you or anyone else speaking on me. So therefore, just let me finish my point.
There's full respect.
The second point is with regard to institutional degradation. Yes, that's a problem and a reality. There have been circumstances of it, but there's not a single instance that you can raise about since the last 9 months. This new government has come under Prime Minister Modi, that someone could say that the CBI was functioning in this manner. My last comment is that whether we like it or we don't, it's the only agency that we have today which is able to do this in a certain way. There's the NI whose functions are a little different. So therefore we can't now say, because you don't have trust in it, we can't expect now Ms. Nandi or me to be the people who will claim we are independent and say now we will monitor it. There is an institution.
There is a side road. Now 1 second.
Part of the building of institutions.
Mr. Kohli.
That no senior people were arrested.
No, Miss Nandi and Mr. Kohli, we can go down a side road. No, 1 second, and be lost. And be lost forever. Let's get.
But we can't certainly go about with our likings and dislikings about institutions and who we would like to see behind bars as a base whether the CBI is functioning correctly or not. If they don't function well, the court castigates them. You've seen that castigation.
Well, okay, it's not.
No, 1 second.
1 second. It's not NewsX's case that it should only be a CBI investigation.
I'm not disagreeing with that, Mr. Ravi. I'm only adding to the further comments you had.
Okay,
so I was countering those.
Okay, please. I think. No one is alluding to the fact that the CBI is the only competent authority. You can have a judicial probe You can move the Supreme Court tomorrow and have a court-monitored SIT. You can have several formulations. So let's not get hung up on 3 letters, CBI.
Absolutely.
I also
Anything
just want
can
to,
happen.
I just want to, one second. I want to bring in Mr. Shergill and the 2 others who are raising their hands, and Captain Gopinath, who is wanting to come in. Now, one second. Mr. Shergill, your first right of response to what Mr. Kohli has said. Yes. Do we have him? Okay, we don't. Captain Gopinath.
Rahul, I'll respond to Mr. Kohli very specifically.
Okay, you're there. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, Mr.
No,
Shergill.
no,
you're there, you're there. Go ahead.
Rahul.
Go ahead.
Rahul, quick response to Mr. Kohli. Where were these arguments about and these rationale for a CBI inquiry when BJP MLA's Raghupati Bhatt's wife died mysteriously? Miss Yadurappa died, the Chief Minister's wife, mysteriously. Narendra Kumar in Madhya Pradesh died in 2009. Let him pull up the records of the Legislative Assembly. When the government opposition demanded CBI inquiry, he said, why are you maligning the state police? Where were all these rationales of the CBI inquiry when their own MLA's wives are dying under mysterious circumstances? Chief Minister, a brave IPS died in a stone mafia in Madhya Pradesh.
Okay.
And a person was convicted.
So both of you were
as we did not see with the zero loss theory, but let's leave history for a moment.
Why weren't these principles of law? Why weren't these principles of law applied then?
That when you were in government and you opposed and you accused the BJP of trying to scuttle things, so are you saying that we want to now scuttle because in your opinion the BJP scuttled it then? That's a fascinating, inventive and actually a self-defeating argument, if I may put it like that.
No, I am just pointing out,
No, I can.
I'm just pointing out how
you are free to point out what you like. I'm free to point out about the appearance or the disappearance of Mr. Rahul Gandhi. We all are free to point out what we like. But let's try to come with some substantive facts. Why, Mr. Shergill, why are you trying to block out my speaking? I heard you. I'm trying to answer it. You can't make a point, ask me a question and then try to answer it yourself. That is not how it happens. I'm answering what you said, and I'm coming back to the point because you interrupted me. So by your standards, Mr. Shergill, you in the government at that time said the BJP accused us of basically saying that we were blocking a fair probe. So that's your argument to say we don't want a fair probe. So therefore you are trying to say this is the standard. Very, very funny. You accuse us of bad standards, but you would like to emulate that too. It's inventive and it's self-defeating.
Look, let's not, one second. Let's focus on the Let's focus on the independence of the probe. Let's focus on why there is a need for an independent probe. Forget about the agency for a moment. Forget about the agency for a moment. Let's go to the more basic question, and I want to bring in Captain Gopinath.
I just want to point out
one second. Let me bring in Captain Gopinath. He's been listening very, very patiently.
Home Minister has said.
1 second, sir. Please.
No, I'm just pointing out. I'm not making an argument.
No, it will lead to some sort of, judgment call, and then there will be another sideshow. So 1 second. Let me just bring in Captain Gopinath. Isn't this?
Rahul said 30th March he will have a report, and let's wait for that.
We should take off there.
Yes, Captain Gopinath.
Rahul, I think we should. Rahul, this is not fair.
But why wait till 30th March?
I don't belong to any party.
You already know it's a suicide. Your Home Minister's announced it.
Captain Gopinath.
This is getting announced it before even the probe takes place.
Mr. Kohli, Naveen. Mr. Kohli, I think we should put a chance for this.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
See, I think this is getting reduced to a... Sorry, okay.
No, Mr. Captain Gopinath, I apologize.
See, this is getting reduced to a Congress versus BJP debate.
Disrespect to you. Please go ahead.
Okay, Captain Gopinath, please.
No, it's okay. No, fine. Thanks, Naveen. No, the point I'm making is this is now getting reduced to a BJP versus Congress debate, because it's true that earlier when the BJP ordered a state probe, the Congress asked for a CBI probe. So let's not get into that. The question here is now, the writing is on the wall that you have to view this D.K. Ravi's death in the context and in the circumstances, as Arun Bhatia said. The context and circumstances are that he was on the one hand a very upright officer, nobody is denying that. On the other hand, that he was investigating very powerful people. And we know in this country, cutting across parties, across the country in every state, it is the real estate and the mining mafia and the sand mafia, which is the den of black money. And he has gone on record, and it is on record, that he has been investigating building lobbies and sand mafia.
Yes.
And it has come out very clearly that, like in all states, even in this state, many ruling party members are involved in this. Therefore, not only do you need to have an impartial probe, the impartial probe must be seen to be an impartial probe. Therefore, the reason why we suggested a CBI inquiry is because the parents are asking for that. Leave the BJP and the Janata Dal asking for that. The parents are asking for it. A lot of people who are not part of any political party asking for a CBI probe. And since there is a suspicion which Congress will bring in that the CBI is also a handmaiden of the centre, I think it will be right on the Siddaramaya's part to put a sitting judge who will supervise the CBI, so that, you know, the CBI is under a supervision of a sitting judge or a retired judge, so that we get the truth of the matter.
The point is, Captain Gopinath,
you see, this is all conducted quickly.
This is
and
all
not
well
in a delayed manner.
This
because
is all well-intentioned advice, but the other side has to be in a position to receive it. Mr. Jha, I want to come back to you. Mr. Vimlendu Jha, I just want to come back to you, and also Mr. Arun Bhatia was raising his finger. Mr. Jha, I want to ask you, forget about the CBI, let's take it out of the equation. Give me two reasons why you think there is a compelling need for an independent investigation in this particular case, and two reasons why you think perhaps it is being blocked.
See, there's every reason for us to believe that, yes, there needs to be either CBI, not CID for sure, not an authority which is actually controlled by the state machinery, because we actually have not just what happened in the last 3 days, but what's actually been happening for several months with DK Ravi, and also what's actually been happening in this country. And I think, you know, this actually is for you, Rahul, that at the end of the day, when we actually hear these two politicians speak or these political parties speak, we are giving them undue, you know, TV time and importance when they are actually just like a broken record. They have not said anything new. They're just saving their skin. We all know in last 10 years how many hundreds of whistleblowers have actually died, and each time they actually come out and defend their political party. So at the end of the day, we are talking about investigation, and we are also talking about establishing a culture by the state, both the central government. At the end of the day, when we're talking about Lokpal, we're talking about a larger sense of justice, rule of law,
and
that there needs to be transparency and justice for whistleblowers at the end of the day.
Okay, okay, 1 second. Mr. Bhatia, you want to make a point? Yes.
Yes, very shortly 3 points. One is, let us assume that the CBI is as corrupt as the CID. There is still a very compelling case to transfer this inquiry to the CBI because it is more far removed from the politics of Karnataka. That is, it will be a more independent inquiry, we hope. Second thing is, if you are still against the CBI, form a commission. Number two, the personal thing, that there is some personal reason for a suicide. Even if there is a personal reason for a suicide, sir, it does not mean that that was the reason for the suicide. It could still have been done because of pressure and threats from the vested interests and the mafia that he was attacking. And the third and last point is that people are asking for some direct evidence. I'll just finish, sir. The people are asking for some direct evidence that his probe was related to some minister or chief minister or some senior bureaucrat. There will never be direct evidence. I mean, it is a foolish politician who will allow his own company to be involved in this. They act through facades, through people, through other companies. And this is the class that supports politicians.
I just want to make a point here.
Relationship between
someone has just given me some information. 1 second. Someone has just given me some information. We should bear this in mind. It's about procedure. Now, when the CBI, if the CBI were to assume charge, this is what would have happened. This particular case would fall under the jurisdiction of the Special Crime Branch of the CBI. Since the case has occurred in Bengaluru, a South Indian city, the CBI headquarters in Delhi would generally assign the case to the regional headquarters of South Indian metros, in this case situated in Chennai. The Chennai office would then assign the case to an officer. It is not necessary that the case be sent to the Chennai office at all. Another factor that needs to be considered is that officers assigned to the CBI are drawn from the cadre of various states. Police offices can request a deputation to the CBI, so it is possible that an officer of the Karnataka cadre could be given charge of this case. So now, Given this procedure, Mr. Shergill, I want to ask you, if this were to be borne out, all the more reason for you to seek a CBI inquiry, because it would be an officer from the Karnataka cadre. In fact, it would have double credibility. Mr. Shergill.
Rahul, two things. The Home Minister has made a categorical statement. 31st March is the deadline for the state report from the state police. Let's wait for the report. Don't prejudge it. Second,
no, there's too much of a time lag, sir.
Whether it's CID or versus CBI.
A lot can change.
Which officer heads it?
We don't know.
No.
We don't know what proof is being ferreted away. Captain Gopinath.
It's not about which cadre from Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh or Maharashtra.
Why is
the question?
Why is time of the essence in this case? Captain Gopinath, why is time of the essence in this case?
No, I think all of us know. I think you don't have to be a Sherlock Holmes or a Hercule Poirot to know that time is of the essence, because evidence is important here. Evidence can be destroyed. Evidence can be influenced. And I think it is also stupid on the part of the government, of the Karnataka government, that the more they delay, the more suspicion they are bringing on themselves. And so it is in their own interest that they hand over the case immediately to CBI along with a judge, or a special, because the court cannot investigate. The court requires an investigation team. And though I want to make one point of the CBI, though it is true that the CBI historically has been under the influence of the Home Ministry of the ruling party, but I think after the castigation of the Supreme Court, and now with the new way of appointing a CBI director, with the new checks and balances that are coming, I think the CBI should be trusted, and if necessary, another judge can be put to supervise the CBI. But I think it is important that before the violence goes out of hand, that is important that they hand over the case immediately to an independent party, which is perceived to be independent, because there are too many names involved, and there's a conflict of interest. Everybody knows that you cannot investigate yourself.
Okay, we're going to be winding down on this. Two last opportunities, one for the BJP and one for the Congress to defend their stand. Mr. Nalin Kohli, first shot, 1 minute on the show.
I have no stand to defend. I have no stand. The Congress is here to defend their stand. My points are in one, what Captain Gopinath said, that yes, and that's the point I'm making, if the CBI does not do something correct, courts do castigate it. So therefore we need to give every agency a chance. There may be mistakes, there may be issues, but that can't be, we live only by the past reputation. The second part is to the Congress party, that what would a probe by the 31st time bound do? The Home Minister is on record to have straight away almost said it's a suicide. The Bangalore Police Commissioner has decided even before the investigation. So therefore the outcome is predicted even before the investigation. The third was a point that I want to make on a personal note. I would request people not to paint political parties with a brush, as a colleague on this show was doing it. Yes, there are Indians from every sector who are good at their work. There are some who are not so good. I mean, newspapers have reported RTI activists who have used, and this is prominent newspapers, who have used RTI to basically blackmail people. Others have done murder. Does that mean RTI is bad? Does that mean RTI is bad? There are doctors who have misused their oath, but does that mean doctors are bad? Same way, in politics, there are people who may not be doing justice to the work or the service that's derived from it. Don't just paint it blindly. We have to build democratic institutions. There will be good examples, there will be bad. But we don't live only by the bad. We also look for the good.
Okay, okay, fine.
Was referring to what I said, Rahul. If I may just very quickly address.
Why? Because I said about RTI activists.
Party, there's no
is
question
that why it's not a good analogy?
Individuals. But on the RTI, sir, you are not correct. On the RTI,
I think it's about
you.
You can't whitewash it.
Blackmail.
You can't whitewash.
No, I'm sorry, ma'am. It was reported in Hindustan Times. This was a person. The second one belonged to the Aam Aadmi Party. He was responsible for murder. Just because you are good, ma'am, that doesn't mean that there may be others who may be misusing it.
I made very specific statements. I made very specific statements about BJP cases, like Satyendra Dubey.
No, I made specific based on newspaper reports. I made it on newspaper reports. They aren't my own creation. So I stand by what I
whitewash corruption in India by saying
what Mr. Shergill is is today
You can't
is
whitewash
what
corruption in India by
you
saying,
were
"Oh,
Sorry, sir.
yesterday and
You are entitled to your
tomorrow."
views.
Generalization.
Because I'm saying it
Politics
absolutely.
is
Corruption is an
corruption.
endemic problem in India, and it's about the
That's a
human
correct generalization.
involvement.
Well,
There
let's
is corruption
focus-
at every level, in
Particularly
every
so
social structure.
with the
It's
large,
not
particular
restricted
large
only to
companies
politicians.
and politicians.
You
I
would
urge
also
the
know this, sir,
panelists
as
to
much as I
focus-
do.
I would urge the panelists to focus on the larger point that was
Politician,
made.
No, I will
And
take
think the
it to
larger
every
point-
this.
Okay, one second. I think the
Because
larger
you
point-
can't build bad roads
Okay.
if you did not have even engineers who
Okay.
are complicit to it.
I think
So I
the
mean, there's
larger point-
everywhere.
One
But
second.
you have to, and you have to reward
The larger point,
good people out
Ravi,
there.
Okay,
the larger
larger point. One
point
second.
is that the nexus that exists between the state and the mafia, and each time if it's an officer, a bureaucrat,
No, we understand
or,
the point,
or perhaps
sir.
an average citizen.
Yes, we understand the point you're making, Mr. Jha. I think the larger point that needs to be reinforced, and I want to bring in Mr. Shergill very quickly if we still have him with us. Mr. Shergill, are you there with us? I think we've lost you. Is he there? I think he's
Yes,
there.
Rahul.
Yes, Mr. Shergill,
Yes,
very
Rahul.
quickly, very quickly.
Yeah.
I just want to ask you a straight off the bat question. Why do you think anything will be different by the time that you suggest the report will be in?
Rahul, by the time report will be in, there would be a thorough investigation leading to the circumstances
Right.
of this tragic death. So please have faith in the state police. If there is an element of biasness, CBI will come into the picture. Number two,
No,
for a
can't
change,
come into
I
the
agree
picture.
with Mr. Kohli's
Mr.
comment
Shergill,
as far as he was talking about.
Karnataka is one of the
class
states
injuries.
where the CBI cannot come in suo moto. It is one of the states in the union where the CBI cannot come in suo moto. So let's not pull the wool over our eyes. The fact is,
Yes, if there is an element of biasness, if there is an element of biasness, state government will transfer it or the court will transfer it.
Really? So they will sit in judgment of their own investigation. That's asking a bit too much. We're leaving it
Yes.
to that. We've heard all the views. We've heard all the stands. Our
If
viewers
there is
have
an
heard
element
it.
of biasness in the investigation.
I would urge our viewers to live tweet at the hashtag that is provided on the right of the screens and tell us who they agree with. We move on.